Alrighty, so I'm gonna just do a informal little talky video explaining just how my mind works to do this project, which the only time I've ever said it out loud was like when I used to teach classes. And you know, it's funny when you do something that you don't think anybody else really cares or it matters until someone is interested in how do you do that, and then you start to show them and then they're like, it's new to them. Whereas with me, it's kind of like I've made thousands of these literally when I kind of went into making these full time. The SHEKERE, which is basically a percussion instrument made out of a gourd and a net of beads that's traditionally African and from that culture and that continent as it traveled around the world. So anyway, so I'm just gonna kind of, well, you know how they say like that if something is rare, it's worth more money. It's like to this day, like let's say I were to disappear and I'm no longer here. Okay, so there's like, even now, there's like a handful of people on the planet that actually go to the trouble to grow the gourds or make these instruments, and these are percussion instruments. And okay, so they don't really matter much except to musicians or people that want to give them away as gifts, or some people used to buy them just because they were pretty and all that. In my case, when I started to so-called mass produce them to alleviate the boredom, and because I like beadwork, I started making them kind of a little extra fancy and using select beads and all that, just because like you can go online and look for shikeres and you'll find some really nice ones, you know, that you can buy. And making these isn't as easy as it looks. So in the other video I uploaded today, I showed you about how I cleaned out these guys here. So the reason this is an interesting video is because no matter how many I've made of these, each one is different. Each time is different, and it just always is exciting. It sounds weird, but it's always exciting because each gourd is different, each design is different. And I got presented with this challenge because you know, I've been sort of on a holiday from doing gourds at all this past year. Anyway, a friend of mine, she sent me, it's too bad I took them apart, but she sent me, like 20 years ago, I made her 2 Maraca style shakers with, this was the bulb of the one she sent me back because she said, oh, the handles broke and she couldn't repair the handles, which I don't have here on the camera. So here, finally, the handle cracked. And she said, can you take the net off? And I have a video of what the net used to look like, or I have an image of what the net used to look like. Let's see if I can grab it. So she said, can you take the net off and get some other gourds and just, you know, and I make all the nets so you can remove them and everything. So I said, well, you know, I contacted this one really big gourd farm up here in Arizona, asking them if they had, this is like, this one's like 4 inches diameter with a nice handle. And it's kind of sad if you can't go to the farm yourself and pick them out. So anyway, he never answered me back. I didn't know if my request to buy like 4 or 6 of them was too small of a request. I don't really know. I'm thinking that's probably what happened, that it was just too small of a request. Okay, so let me see if I can do this. Wait. I love YouTube. Anyway, See that net right there? And you see this gourd right here? So that net, you see the design and everything, all those are glass beads. And it's about a 20-year-old piece. So, so anyway, she said, can you take the net off and replace it on a gourd? So I said, well, I'll try. And if you go to the farm and you want to buy a dipper gourd like that, they usually, the price is only about like $3 to $5 a piece, uncleaned. See, that's uncleaned. So anyway, there were just two people on eBay selling dipper gourds, and one person, there was a lot of competition. She had some good sized ones, but there were like four of us fighting over them. So I let him go because they were ending up selling for like $10 a piece. So, you know, someone's still using these. So I found another auction, and this lady was selling these guys in the background there. And I asked her, I says, what size are they? And she says, well, I'm sorry I don't measure them, which was a bummer. So I took a chance because they were cheap, $15 shipping, and they were only like $3 for 3. And sure enough, they arrived, and they're way smaller. So I got them in the mail, and I thought, oh man. So all these beads are the ones that came off that net back there. I cut it all up. Every now and then you cut up your work and redo it. And I sent the picture to my friend. I says, well, man, look at the difference between that one and this one. And I thought, okay, so yeah, I could make a SHEKERE on this guy with the beads, but it's going to have to be teeny tiny. And hopefully the volume and the action will be nice enough, and I can do anything I want, you know. But I'm going to attempt to, this is out of one instrument, and that's out of the second one, so I'm going to, you know, make a new net, which should take about, you know, a day's worth of sitting here doing it. So I thought, well, let me record the details because, like I say, if I disappear and anybody needs to know how to make them, they can go look at a video of this approach to doing that. Back in the day before YouTube and smartphone, I was always planning to make a VHS, a tutorial about that, but I never got around to it. So look how easy it is to do now. But let me show you also what happened when she sent me this guy back from Hawaii, where she lives. See, in the other video I burned the hole. Here's the hole that the other seeds came out of. But when the handle broke, this is what I mean by how there's still junk stuck to the inside. So after 20 years, oops, where'd it go? After 20 years, see that paperish looking stuff? That's the stuff you want to get out of there. Like when you clean out your gourd, you want to clean it out. So, you know, now I can reach it, but when I originally made it, I used the other tools to try to get all this papery stuff out. So anyway, just so it's clean on the inside, because this paper will also muffle the tone in it. Okay. I don't know who'd be interested in this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Okay, so here's the other part that, just for the record. So, okay, so I just sat down and I said, all right, I'm going to make her 2 of them little teeny tiny, which is a bit challenging because it's not my favorite thing to make them teeny tiny, simply because I'm looking for a photo, simply because it's just a little more tedious to do it. So, for example, here's a photo of the pass and a bunch of SHEKEREs, and there's a little baby right there. I thought it was a funny photo because his head, the SHEKEREs are bigger than his head. These were hanging off the wall just in case you want. They look like they're floating. But anyway, these were generally the size that I would make. And see all these other ones? They're like Hosho size with the handles and everything, and they got the net around them. But they're not as teeny tiny as what I'm going to do today on this one here. See, there's one up there. Anyway, it's kind of blurry. But this was sort of like in the heyday when that's all I made with gourds was SHEKEREs. Or, you know, not the heyday, but I always made SHEKEREs even when making other gourd items. And if you go to the right venue or get the right audience, they sell out really fast and really quick. In music stores they sell too and all that. But I'm moving away from doing these because of my vision and because I'm getting ready to grow some on a piece of land and just be a grower and maybe do sculptures and everything. So I'm making this video also just to pass it on. Oh yeah, because the thing is, there's very few of us on earth that make these. Isn't that supposed to be valuable or make it valuable? And you can probably go nowadays online and you can find SHEKEREs. Latin Percussion has a team of folks that make them. You know, you know, you can find some, but I'm one of the few people that makes them a certain custom way. And even after all these decades, it's not like a big popular thing to have or to sell. And I was selling on eBay till 2 years ago when you know what changed, and for some odd reason, not one customer came to my eBay site in the last year. It's like zero. And there's reasons for that. You know, I get a lot of sabotage on eBay. But anyway, so that made me sort of like go out of business because otherwise I'd have to travel or go back to the music store scene or whatever, because since the Lockheed Downey, not too much street shows, and where I live there aren't too many customers, even though anyway, so I'm rambling on. But what I want to do is just explain how I do the pattern for what it's worth, or to whom it may concern. So I make this, see that I make this separate lead thing around the net. Now I'm explaining this because some people think that the net starts on this side and that it comes off of here, but it always starts like this on this side, and it's going to end down here. And so because it's teeny tiny, I'm also using a real skinny little string. Oops, skinny string. Here's skinny string. This is wax linen also. It's like $8 or whatever. Here it is. And it just means I gotta do a lot of finesse with this because it's real teeny tiny. It's a little harder to make them when they're so small, but it's awfully fun. You know, when it's done, it'll be nice. So I just thought I'd say out loud the math. Okay, so I did this lead ring, and just in case someone doesn't know macrame, let me give an example of what that means, that lead ring. This is just makeshift for a second. Okay. Oopsie. Okay, so what that kind of means is, like, let's say I have this guy here. This is your lead ring. You can make it thicker or whatever, but basically you start with that. You might cut that off. Then okay, so like notice how much string I have. Usually it's like 3 times. The string should be as long as 3 times as this, but I tend to make it longer because you don't want to be macrameing forever and then run out of string. That's one of the saddest moments, when your string shortens before you're done. So it's better to have too much string. So see all that length? I'm not going to, by the time I'm finished with this, I'll be cutting a lot of this off, but better safe than sorry. So then I made that string there, and let me just show you how so I cut a bunch of, okay, sometimes you can count ahead of time how many strands are going to come off of it. like let's say I want 40 strands. I can purposely make 40 strands and put them on, but in this case, this isn't working out too good. You can see I'm not a professional video maker. I remember when my friend Daniel was showing me how to do these. I already did lots of macrame, but he had things he did and I couldn't figure it out until he showed me. So that's why I'm doing it. So basically it's this kind of knot where you, oh my god, this isn't working. So, well, you know what? Forget that part. I'm not ready to do that. Let's go back to this part. So I made the lead string and then I put on, basically, I part them out this way, I stick it on there and then I put a knot so they're not going to slide. Now you'll see a lot of shekeres where these strands will slide around on the net, but I don't like that. I like to stick a knot underneath when I put it on so it won't go anywhere. And in this case I didn't count how many I was putting on until I was done, because I just wanted them spaced far enough out. So when I finished putting these on, I counted and there's 20. Okay, so if there was 19, I would have moved these over a little bit and stuck another one to make it 20. And here's how my mind thinks about it, which is this geometry thing. Okay, so if you have 20 strands, and let's say I just had all red beads, and those shekere is going to be all red with no pattern. Well, then you don't have to count, you don't have to think, you just tie them on and tie them on till it's done. So it wouldn't matter if I had 20 strands or 21 or 22. But if I want to make a pattern similar to that net I showed you that was originally on here with triangles and all this stuff, I gotta count as I go, which it means you have to think while you make it. And you know, you're just doing some geometry basically. So there's 20 on here, which is good because 20 is divisible by 5 and 4 and 10 and 2. So you can use those numbers to make different patterns. If it was 22 strands, well, if it was 21 strands, then that's 7 times 3. So you could maybe make, 7 times 3 is 21. So you could make, for example, triangles, 3 triangles. You know, you can make 3 triangles going around or 7 going around, kind of thing. My favorite number is 24 because you can make, that's 6 times 4, 12 times 2, and you could break down the 12, etc. I hope you know what I'm talking about. So 26 is a very strange number because you can do 13 twice. Isn't that weird? 26 isn't, I've never hardly used 26 strands, because that, unless I'm going to make random with, you know, no pattern. But if you want to make a pattern, you want to have the strands that you can divide up, and so you can get your pattern out of it. And after I make this video, I'm going to maybe try to do another one as I make. Like, what I'll do is I'll make this video, explain it, and then when I'm partway through, I'll stop and make another video showing it partway through. Okay, so this is a 20 strand one, and it's going to be real tedious because teeny tiny, and I have to like just get all teeny tiny focus and do it. But there won't be any other one like it on the planet. That's the thing that makes it rare. This is a gourd, which is a dried squash plant that really isn't that edible. Even the wild animals will bite into it, but they won't eat much of it. So it has this sort of toxic thing. So, but you'll never find a gourd exactly like this. You might find a farm that grows a bunch of these, and then they'll be similar. But you have this vine that makes huge leaves that chickens eat, and the leaves just make tons of shade, and the vines can grow like 50 feet long and all that. And then you've got these really cool products that come out where it acts like wood. These are like wood. So to me, it's like, I don't know if there'll ever be another time on Earth when people need gourds, because when plastic came out, people had plastic bowls and wooden bowls. These have always been used for containers and for storage. And you know, you can go look up gourds and see traditional in Africa. They're design and worth a lot of things. So these used to be worth a lot until they weren't, like nowadays. But you don't know, maybe in some future, if there's a gourd farm and there's no plastic bowls or glass bowls around, people are going to be using gourds again. Let's put it that way. So anyway, so yeah, so I'm going to start doing that with 20 strands, and my pattern is going to be like, I'll figure it out. What did I just say before? 20. Oh, 5 times 4 is 20. So I'm going to use a lot of 5 and 4. And we'll see how else. Plus, I have to think. It makes you think because you have all these colors. And I don't have any other beads. This is all I have right now. Normally I order like tons at once so I don't have to count. But see, there's just a few white ones. So when I come back and show, I'll wait till I'm halfway done and show you what I've done. So I have to count and think where I want to put those white ones, where I'm going to put those red ones, blah, blah, blah. And because the original net was covering this guy, and they were pretty tightly woven, I should have extra beads left over that they shouldn't. You never know, but my guess is that I won't even use all those beads for one of these because it's so small. You know, it's so much smaller. It's almost half the size of this guy. But it's always a surprise to see what's going to happen. I don't plan ahead of time the pattern. I just sort of go row by row with a general idea in my mind about how I'm going to do it. And see, that's from the first net. And I just knocked them out. And, you know, I mean, I spent like how many hours separating these guys. So it's a lot of a meditation, quite frankly. So in order to work, you know, I'm going to want to separate these in piles like that one, so you don't have to pick out of here, and so then I can count the colors better and see what I have. If I had a brand new batch of beads from the factory, I'd have so many beads I wouldn't have to worry about counting these. You know, normally I would have like a bag of those, bag of those, bag of those, but I don't right now, so I have to kind of count one by one. Because like, let's say I use these green ones in a row, I better make sure I got 20 or 40 of those, you know what I mean? Because you don't want to run out. Like sometimes there'll be one bead short in a pattern, and then I'm like, little things like that. So maybe this is sort of a lesson in macrame, and then counting and pattern making, and when it's finished, it'll be a percussion instrument. So you play it music with other people. That seems kind of valuable to me, especially. Well, you know, God made me do this when I thought, why am I making rattles? You know, but the intrinsic significance of music and percussion, especially very ancient, older music from cultures that have been repressed, that are coming back to life in the last few decades in a certain kind of way and used around the world. So, you know, again, you can go online and type in SHEKERE, S-H-E-K-E-R-E, and learn things about it. So I don't have to talk so much about them. And so, yeah, so then I'm going to have this guy to do whatever I want with. And it still has value to it. I mean, you could make 20 pair of earrings off this thing, or you could make a birdhouse out of, you know, it just looks like a, oh look. So that's how brittle this was. So my friend played these for years and she never dropped them on the cement, but see how this gourd was probably already thin when I made it. That's funny. So see all the junk coming out. See all this papery stuff? I didn't get that out the first time out of this little hole. That little hole. And in the other video I showed you how I burned this hole and I knocked out all the seeds. But I'll guarantee there's paper in there too. You know, not paper, but the dried insides of it. But I'm thinking I could get you know, later on I'm going to go in there and clean that out a little better. And I'll probably burn a design on here too. Okay, so, oh dang, that's 25 minutes. Alright, so that's a little shekere video on planning how to make the net. Okay, well, maybe someone got something out of this, or if not, at least I did it. Okay, thank you.